Oh my goodness. What a difference a little bit of paint makes. Decent. Friggin' rights. Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're having a good day. This time we are going to take a 14-foot RV trailer and rip the body off it and turn it into a flat deck utility trailer or toy hauler trailer. Well, I got this old frame from a camper trailer, travel trailer. This is what's left after the body is just ripped off. All the rotten old wood and stuff what's inside of these. This thing was probably back in the 80s or 90s, I'm not sure. So I measured it and I think it's 14 feet long from the front there to the very back bumper, about 14 feet long. So I'm not sure if, I guess that would be a 14-foot trailer, I guess. And I don't necessarily need anything this long, so I think I'm gonna shorten the trailer. And you'd think the easiest way to shorten it would be just to cut the ass end off and move the axle up, but the axle perches are welded, so and I don't really want to cut them off. These might accommodate the fenders nicely, so if you move the axle, then that would change. There's more of these, but a lot of them are bent or destined to be removed. So I put X on the ones I think I'm going to be removing. So just these external pieces here that stick out, I don't need a lot of them. Some of these are bent anyway, so that's going to get cut off. I might actually cut it off here because I'm going to be moving. See how this triangulated piece is the tongue? I'm going to be separating these two here. I think they're welded underneath. And I'm going to be moving the tongue up or back to shorten it up. Well, the trailer jack works. Anyway, took me a while to figure out exactly what I wanted to do for a game plan. I got the death wheel out here. Might need new ammunition on there soon. Anyway, got the death wheel, the marker, the measure tape measure. So I think what I'm going to do is, like I said, I'm going to be taking these chunks off, these external chunks, not the ones beside the wheel because I might mount a fender on there, but I'm going to be taking most of these off. And the frame is broken there, so I want the trailer to be shorter anyway, so I'm going to cut about that much. I think that's 16 inches off the rear. So I'm going to keep this cross member here, and somewhere between here and here, I'm going to be cutting the frame off on both sides. Somewhere there. I've been measuring from the cross member. So I've got the measure tape hooked on the cross member there. So if I cut her off there, or if that's with the new back end, my axle is going to be located at 4 feet. That's your 4-foot mark there. And the frame is good all the way up to almost 9 feet, where it's broken again. But I'm going to be shortening the trailer anyway because 14 feet is way too long for me. So I think I'm gonna go here 8.5 feet. But even though I'm cutting the frame here, I still have to take the tongue that's on the inside, this triangulated piece here. It's not welded on the top. I think it's only welded on the bottom. So I'll just take a grinder and cut the weld underneath. And I think that's the only thing holding it, aside from this little triangulation here, but that's got to go. I'll cut that somewhere here. So yeah, it's nice and wide. I can't remember, it's like 66 inches wide or something like that inside of the wheels, or just the deck alone. So now that I've got some theory figured out, where I'm gonna cut and what I'm gonna do, might as well turn on the electricity on the death wheel. Sorry about the wind, it's a little bit windy today and I'm not using the external mic. Quick boring update. Measure twice and cut once. That's an ancient Chinese proverb. Measure twice and cut once. Fall down 7 times and stand up 8. So what I've done is I measured from 2 different cross members, that one and that one. And then these things aren't precision engineered, so there's about a 1/4 inch difference between what they should be 4-foot centers. So I find the happy place in between the 2 measurements and I draw a straight line with the square. Something like that. So that's a boring update, but I got my lines, double checked my measurements and made my lines nice and straight. So once you chop, there's no going back. On the rear end here, on the back side, I decided to go an extra 6 inches just in case I need some place to mount a bumper, or like I said, once you cut it off you can never put it back on. So safety goggles, because you only get 2 eyes, and if you poke one out then you only get one left. Well, there she is. She's just hanging by a thread right now. You notice that the box section is not completely welded on the bottom. There's a seam all the way along the bottom. You can tell. Anyway, yeah. So the rear end is ready to come off pretty much. That bumper is a little bit excessive anyway, sticking way out here, and I won't be using any of that. I think I'm just gonna stay within the wheels since it's plenty wide enough. Plenty wide enough. Yeah, I started making some cuts here. I think I'm gonna have to move that bracket out of my way. Same with this one. I think this one's in my way also. So I might have to get those out of the way and shorten up the front. Might as well finish here. I did a little bit of a teeter-totter. You know what a teeter-totter is. I let the tongue down all the way down so it lifts the ass end up. Gives me enough room for working underneath and stuff. I might finish that with a hacksaw or something. Oh my goodness. Friggin' rights. I think weight reduction stage 1. I think I just lost about 50 pounds there. That's a nice tube though for something. If I need to move the bumper back, or yeah, if I need to move it up, I could probably put the bumper on there. That's not too bad. But I've already started cutting the front, so I can't stop now. There we go. She's a lot more compact now. That's only 9 feet long now. Well, 8 feet in between the crossers and 6 inches on each end. I left 6 inches here, and I did the same on this end here. I left 6 inches, so she's 9 feet long there right now. I'm not sure yet. I might do some more trimming, but I got to separate this frame rail, this straight piece, separate that on both sides, and then take this A-frame section, this tongue, and put it back here, which means I'm probably gonna have to remove this cross member and then weld it back together. Seems to me that there's no weld at all on the top here. I guess it's only on the bottom. That doesn't seem very legit, but that'll make it easier for me to separate anyway. I got her all separated. That was pretty easy. It was just one weld on the bottom side. Just one weld like that. But there was also this this piece that come across the headboard. It was also tied into the frame rail, so a little bit more support there as well, I guess. But it was only welded with one long weld on the bottom side. This is the bottom side here. So when I put her back together, I think I'll do a better job than that. And the tongue has to go inside of the frame rails, so this cross member is probably gonna have to go. But I'll put another one back in later. Well, there's some of the stuff I removed. The rear bumper and a couple of frame sections, and looks like so far I've removed about 5 feet, give or take. Looky there, it almost fits. It almost looks like a trailer. Man, it's hard to believe I cut 4 or 5 feet out of this thing. It still looks pretty long. Still seems a little bit long, but I guess the tongue itself, the way the A-frame is, it's just a long tongue, and I've only got 9 feet here, but the tongue is another 6 feet on top of that. So I took the cross member out and I cleaned it up, grinded it down, and then on the edges where I'm going to weld these edges together, I hit that with a wire wheel and just took a little bit of the rust off, took some of the rust off on both pieces here and here, top and bottom, just on the insides where they're going to be welded together. That clamp could be tightened up a little bit, but I'm just mocking it up right now to where it's gonna go, and then when I think I got it where I want it, I'll tighten these clamps down a little bit more and weld her together. When I originally took this tongue off, there was only one weld holding the tongue to the frame, and it was one weld along the bottom. So I've done the top. I'm gonna do the corners. I'm gonna do this end here and the bottom. I'm gonna just weld all the way around it, so it should be stronger than what it was before I shortened it up. So she's not too bad. The tongue is really long. Look how big that tongue is. Holy, oh my goodness. I might put lay the decking down on the tongue, maybe quite a ways up, so if you need more cargo capacity, you can bring it up to here somewhere or something. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Is it all wet out there, buddy? Holy shit. Oh my goodness. Everything was dry as a bone 5 minutes ago. We just had a random 5-minute storm. She came down pretty hard there. The rain did. Not for very long. It was only about 5 minutes. She might come back around again. But I got this put back together. Got the tongue welded back on. And I shortened these up here. These were sticking out about 4 more inches, so I cut them off shorter. I might put some different offset wheels on it eventually and maybe tuck them in a bit. This thing is really wide. It's like 66 inches wide in between the axles, or sorry, in between the wheels. So from the outside of this frame rail over to the outside of that frame rail, it's 66 inches. That's like 5.5 feet wide. Pretty big. And then the wheels, they stick out like another 12 inches on each side. So if I can get a different offset wheel, maybe tuck them in a little bit. I'm trying to make this thing a little more compact, make it a little bit more smaller. That's why I cut it down. Oh my goodness. But yeah, that's what she looks like. I can still mount a fender on these, and I can put a different offset wheel on. The wiring, I'll have to do some fresh wiring and probably new tail lights. I grinded down some of my welds a little bit, and yeah, I don't know if it's gonna keep raining or not, but this thing is gonna need I might paint the frame. I got some of that trim clad rust paint, so I might clean it up a little bit and paint it. So far I'm pretty happy with it. It was a little bit long when it was 14 feet, but now it's about 10.5 feet wide, or sorry, 10.5 feet long now, and 5.5 feet wide. So that's a good size. Not too big, not too small. Might be able to do something here with the tongue. Maybe build a platform or a toolbox, or you get more storage here as well. if you can figure a way to utilize it. So it doesn't look like too much today, but I'm pretty happy with it so far. And I think the frame is almost done now. And next will be maybe painting the frame and putting a deck on it. And whatever else needs to be done, definitely it's going to need trailer lights. I don't know, it might need ramps since it's going to be like a toy hauler. And I think my junk buggy, my homemade DIY side-by-side buggy, I think it might fit on there because it's pretty wide. It's got a 66-inch wide frame. So that's like 5.5 feet wide. Pretty good. Okay, it is day number 3 working on this project, and I just welded in. This was a cross member here that I had to cut out so I could slide the tongue in. This is the A-frame tongue here. It's inside of the frame rails. So I had to remove this cross member originally to get the A-frame in, and now I just put the cross member back in again. So I just welded her in there, and now we're back to the 4-foot centers. So that's an 8-foot 2x4 there, and it's perfect in between those centers there. So there's 4 feet in between here and 4 feet in between here. So those cross sections are every 4 feet. And then this one up here it's only about 2 feet away because I moved the tongue in. I have to measure that. Anyway, I don't have any deck material yet, or tail lights. So I think next thing I can probably do is clean it up and paint it. I could probably do that today. I was thinking about putting another cross member in where those yellow lines are right here. So instead of every 4 feet, I was thinking about putting another one in every 2 feet. And same here. There's a 4-foot gap here, and I was thinking about putting a cross member in there. That's something I should probably do before I paint it. And I did cut the rear bumper off. This is the rear bumper, rear frame section here. So I'm not sure if I'll put that back on or not. It's not that wide anymore, so everything outside of the frame rails I cut off. So I would have to take about a foot off of each side if I decide to reuse that. So this is where the rear bumper was, and the frame section was about 16 inches longer there. When I cut the bumper off, I cut about 16 inches off the frame as well. So I'm not sure if I'll put that back on. I might put something back on there. Well, I made some measurements and made some marks, and I'm gonna take the old rear bumper. I'm just sitting it up here so I can work on it. But this is the old rear bumper here, the rear frame section that I cut off. And I'm gonna cut it on a 45 here and do the same thing over here. Cut it on a 45, remove this, all this, turn it around, and well, this will be the where it gets welded to the frame here. And this will be the back. So, sticking with recycling, I'm going to try to recycle this old bumper and use it again. And I might as well put that on before I paint it. Oh my goodness. Well, there's one side. This is actually the bottom side. You can see the seam. There's a seam in the bottom, same as the frame section, frame rails. Now I gotta do the other side. Boom. There she is. That's gonna be the new old back bumper. There, I recycled the shit out of that. So I basically cut it on a 45 so it's a little more profile for going around corners and for plus 20 horsepower. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, I cut it on an angle there on a 45. That way I wouldn't have to, where the frame was welded on here originally on this part of the bumper, the part that I cut off, I wouldn't have to worry about that. So I just cut it on a 45 and turn it around. So now this part, the back piece here, is wide enough to go all the way across the frame, and I'll have a 45 on the outside. So I just got to take it here and weld it to the end of the frame. Something. These are the chunks here. These are the chunks that I cut off the bumper. I removed that much out of the rear frame section and that much out of the rear bumper on both sides. So that'll make it a little more compact and lightweight. Well, there she is. The rear bumper is tacked on there. I know I keep talking about painting it, and I say I'm going to paint it now, but I got one more thing to do. These are bed irons, angle iron bed rails from obviously some old bed, and I'm going to cut them right on that yellow mark, on that yellow dot there, and I'm going to make the cross members. So instead of having a cross member every 4 feet, I'm going to have one of these in here, so it'll be every 2 feet. Well, there's some of the aftermath. The ends from the bed rails. Well, I got the bed iron rails welded in there on the 2 foot mark. So now I've got 2 foot centers. So that should make everything a little bit more rigid. I think I'm gonna go to town with this wire wheel and clean a bunch of this up a little bit, and then I might just brush on some trim-clad paint, some rust paint. Well, I got some rust paint, black, gloss black, and some paint brushes. I've also got some dark blue, the same colors that I used on the junk buggy. That's only like 1 liter. Yeah, it's only 1 liter, but there's still quite a bit in here. The only thing I used the black on so far was the leaf springs on the buggy, so I got lots of this. That should be enough to do the whole trailer frame. Have one last look at it before I put the paint to it. A little before shot. Oh my goodness. What a difference a little bit of paint makes. Well, the first coat of paint is on. Looks like I missed a spot. I don't remember missing a spot, but the top of that rail in the middle looks like I missed it. But anyway, everything's painted except for the axle tube and the tongue hitch receiver majangle. So I'm going to clean that up. I haven't cleaned it up yet, but I cleaned all this up with the wire wheel and painted it all. The stuff that I painted last night, it didn't really turn out glossy. It turned out kind of ashy. I don't know if it's because all the pollen that's in the air, or maybe because I painted it kind of late last night. But the stuff that I just painted here today, it's dry already, and it's nice and glossy. It's really shiny. Shiny and glossy. So that's only one coat, and this stuff here that turned ashy from yesterday, it might have been from the dew overnight here in Canada. So I can always put another coat on if I want to bring the gloss black, or sorry, the gloss back. Yeah. But I got the chassis all situated the way I want it, and I got it painted black. I got 2-foot centers now instead of 4-foot gaps. So she's coming along pretty nicely, and I just have to figure out what kind of a deck I'm going to put on it. I think it's going to be lumber, a lumber deck. I see you, tail wagger. What are you doing? Upside down. Upside down, buddy. Upside down, buddy. Are you smiler? You smiling? So these oak hardwood boards that I picked up yesterday, they're not as good as I thought they were. I was kind of in a hurry when I picked them up, but I'm gonna work with them anyway. I'm just gonna cut off some of these sections that I don't need. These boards are like 12.5 feet long, and I only need 11 feet. So I'll just cut off the worst of it. That 1 liter can of stain turned out to be almost perfect. There's still a little bit of stain left, but it almost took the whole liter. Decent. Friggin' rights. That's not too bad. This corner here is not the greatest, but Zero Fox. So I guess I'll have to fasten them down, those boards, next, and then put some trailer lights on it. Maybe some tie downs, stake pockets, ramps, fenders. Definitely gonna need some tail lights. Yeah, the stain looks good though. You can see the difference of how dry and white it was, and now how golden it is. Yeah, coming along.